All right, ladies, we're on. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting of the Holliston High School. We are in Holliston High School Library. It is the February 3rd and the time is now 7:03 and I am calling this meeting to order. All members are present with the exception of Mrs. Raffy. And we will start. I need a motion to, actually, I'm going to read the motion for remote. Okay. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, certain provisions of the open meeting law have been adjusted. The Holliston School Committee will be using remote participation, specifically for public comment this evening. The audio of this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the HCAT webpage within 24 hours in accordance with the governor's emergency action requirement of keeping the public informed of actions during this meeting. I ask that all participants remotely attending this meeting please state your name for identification purposes each time you speak throughout the meeting. Okay. I would entertain a motion for remote, well, it's actually not remote participation at this point. It's remote participation. Well, I have to get it anyway. So for remote participation, please.
Moved by Lisa. Seconded.
Moved by Lisa, seconded by Amanda. All in favor, just have to raise our hands. Thank you. I'm going to move on to the minutes. So are there any questions, comments, revisions to the minutes from regular session January 20th, 2022?
I had one already.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the January 20th, 2022 minutes.
Moved by Dawn. Second.
Moved by Dawn, seconded by Minnie. All in favor? Okay. Oral communications. Apparently we do not have any student representatives this evening. So oral communications. Does anybody have anything this evening?
Actually, yes.
Go ahead, Dawn.
Just a congratulations to, I know Mr. Baker will be joining us, so maybe there are additional sports teams as well, but the boys and girls swim won the TBLs last night, and girls indoor track did as well. So
Wow,
they will be moving
congratulations.
forward,
That's exciting.
this weekend.
Yay.
And
Okay, Minnie, you got something?
yes, so I just wanted to tell everybody that please join the meeting for Holliston Music and Arts Council. It's on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. They would love everybody to tune in. And
8 a.m. or p.m., sorry?
p.m. Sorry,
Okay.
it's at 7 p.m. actually. Not
Oh,
8.
7 p.m., okay.
7 p.m. And it's, I think, you can find more information on hollistonmusicandarts.org, council.org, I think. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to flip to the page where I had the notes, but anyway. So
Is this HMAPA?
that's correct, yes, HMAPA. Also, additionally, there's one concern that they have raised, which I would like to share, is that they are concerned with the dwindling membership and lack of participation from parents. So it would be great if people could sign up or connect with Allison. She is the chair for HMAPA, and then Allison Quinnan, and she would love to, walk people through the process and have more participation, if possible, in the
All right.
group.
Okay. I just have one item that I'd like to bring to the committee's attention this evening. Some of you may have heard that Representative Carolyn Dykema plans to step down from her post representing the 8th district, which includes Holliston. I know it was on Facebook. Was it yesterday? I feel like it was just yesterday. Maybe. Wednesday, maybe. Which was yesterday. So the school committee would just like to formally thank Representative Dykema for her dedicated service to the community and specifically for advocacy for public education that serves all students. So thank you, Representative Dykema. We wish you well in your future endeavors. Don't be a stranger. So thank you so much. A loss for us. It's effective immediately? I thought it was I'm not sure.
Yeah, because she's starting the new job.
Wow.
Right away, so.
Well,
There'll be big shoes to fill.
it's big shoes to fill, so thank you so much. Okay, and then, let's see. Dr. Kuska? Actually, I'm sorry. I'll move
Well, I was
around.
going to say, before we lead into Mr. Boudet's presentation, we had, for those of you who wouldn't see, because it wasn't a tape meeting, but it was a public meeting if people wanted to come, we just had, prior to this, from 5 to 7, a priority needs discussion related to preparing for the budgetary process. So given the discussion that we had around needs related to our current goals and our current strategic planning looking into FY23, we asked Mr. Boudet to prepare an overview of what the process is, because right now we're in the process of starting to make recommendations to school committee, and you'll hear a lot of changes in financial recommendations in the future. But we feel like it was a good time to kind of regroup and go back to what does the process look like and how do we do it here in Holliston, so that people looking in and from new members of the school committee can understand that better as well. So thank you, Mr. Boudet.
Oh, now, okay. Okay.
We're moving along.
Okay. So we're going to see if this works. We're going to go with that. So this is the Holliston Public Schools.
Oh, you're touching the screen.
I see. Look at that. It pays to come early. It's the Holliston Public Schools budget process. There we go. So, number of steps in the process that we go through. A little slower than I wanted to be. So, the way the process works for us, we first determine the run rate, which deals with non-payroll special ed items, payroll items, and then special ed items. From there, we go to our priority needs, which is the meeting we just had. So it's linked to strategic plan, et cetera, going down through our most critical needs. I'll talk more about it later. This is just the summary here. And then superintendent's recommended budget, which you should hear in 2 weeks. And then any other adjustments that we will have to make.
It's very specific.
Any other adjustments we have to make during the budget process, because the number that the superintendent comes up with during the time frame for next week, it will change. Whether it goes up because of our needs, some of our additional needs, or goes down because of affordability for the town. So that will happen. So going specifically into more of the areas specifically, so the run rate budget. So the first thing we look at is the non-payroll. There we go, thank you. The non-payroll, non-special ed items. So the expenses in the items, the expenses in the areas that we project, things like contracted services, so our cleaning contract, our bus contract. Both contracts are up this year, by the way, so again, it's a projection. Utilities. I don't know who has oil here. Anybody has oil, okay? You all know where the price is going.
Yeah.
I'm paying, or we, not I, we're paying $2.15 a gallon. So for this year. Now, that being said, we miss it by the projection by 50 cents or something like that. So you'd say, well, it's not that much. We burn between 100 and 110,000 gallons a year. So we do have a significant investment into oil, to say the least, in Holliston. But again, we have to project utilities for rates for electricity, usage of electricity, rates for gas. We're a much lower gas user. But supplies and materials, which is always, we always examine where we are, supplies and materials, our spend patterns, etc. Professional development. You heard a number of professional development items that came up during the previous meeting. So those may have to be incorporated, may be incorporated. Out-of-district non-special ed. Out-of-district non-special ed, you have to think of things like the TECA, children who go, some of our children take online courses at the TEC collaborative. So again, we have a lot of money going toward, not a lot, but a good amount of money going towards that. Facilities, obviously facilities costs, technology, you heard some things from Dan. And then we do a projection for offsets for revenues, grants, and fees. So things like revenues, so things like our building use, our building use, grants, whether they be entitlement grants or other grants that we get, and obviously fees like bus fees, et cetera. So we do have a number of things there that we have to project. From there, need a bigger finger. We do payroll. So we roll the current staff over to next year. We basically take our existing staff and just roll them forward. We use the collective bargaining agreements that we have in place. As you know, we do have one outstanding one. But we use the collective bargaining we have in place, and we project that out. We project lane movements. We do retirements that we know about. Where'd my finger go? There it is. We account for known retirements. That when we have a collective bargaining agreement that we do not have an agreement with, we have to project to the best of our abilities without preloading an amount. It's a little bit tricky on what we have to do there. And again, here we deal with offsets, things like tuitions, for like pre-K and, well, it used to be for K, full day K, but tuition projections, school choice, which again, I think you all know the school choice program. If not, we'll be reviewing it in the spring, and grants again. Where did payroll? Come on. We spend a lot of time on payroll. And then special education costs. So out-of-district tuition and transportation. Again, a significant line item for each of them as transportation costs continue to rise, especially because these companies can't get drivers. So we're seeing a significant increase in our transportation costs. Contracted services for specialists, for things of that nature. So we need more PT, especially. Our PT is all contracted services. Professional development, special ed, and then offsets. Again, grants. This is where our large entitlement grants are. And circuit breaker, which again, that's a big revenue source for us, circuit breaker, but it's, again, the bigger the number is because the more we're spending out, so, for it. So, we usually go over the process of circuit breaker when we go through the budget process. We put all these parts together, and then we have our run rate or our level services budget, and that's what the run rate really is. It's a level services budget. We're doing exactly what we're doing now. Next year, that's what it's going to cost the community. So, priority needs, the event we just had, the meeting we just had, senior administrators present to the school committee their highest needs for fiscal year 23. Some needs may be cost neutral. Dr. Kuska mentioned that there's some things we're trying to work through that, these are some of our kids.
Come on,
Those are our kids.
I was like, hold on the cute kids, please.
But again, some of these things may be cost neutral, which again, that's the best case scenario. I need a bigger finger, I'm sorry. So from that, the superintendent will develop a recommended budget. And again, that's what you're going to hear in 2 weeks. The superintendent presents their recommended budget to the school committee. Takes into account student needs, district needs, and then affordability, and that is the order that it happens in. Because again, the reason we're here is the first one, obviously. So. From there, we move on to, once that's been established, we have revisions as we go through the budget process. We will next meet after Susan does her presentation. We'll meet with the budget subcommittee, develop. This budget subcommittee will have their own recommendation, and that'll go directly to the school committee. So, ideally, it's in the same range. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. You'll have public budget discussions. We'll discuss the budget throughout this spring or winter into spring at the school committee meetings. You'll hone in the budget as we continue to make adjustments. And what I mean by that is I'll continue to be looking at all sorts of either revenue sources or utility rates or things of that nature. The number is going to change around and move. So things like class size issues could adjust the budget. We had the situation this past year with a very large kindergarten enrollment that we had to adjust for. Move in or recent changes to our out-of-district placements, and that could go up or down. It does say move in, I should say also move out. So again, that could affect us to the positive budget-wise, but open contracts, both collective bargaining agreements and service contracts. Utility rates, retirements and resignations. So once we've made all those adjustments, and sometime in March, I can't remember the exact date, I think it's the second Tuesday in March, maybe the third, the school committee will present their budget request to the finance committee and the select board. First to the finance committee to discuss it, and because they have to start lining things up, and then they have their discussion. The select board is an advisory thing that we just give them the respect that they're due to put that forward. Public budget hearing is held the first Thursday in April. It's a statutory requirement. It is not an option. We can't say, oh, it's good enough. Statutory requirement. It is the process is so that you can hear from the community where they think, or the budget items that they think you should be supporting or not supporting. Historically, we haven't had a lot of attendance, I'll be honest. It's only usually during really bad budget years that we have attendance because they don't like the things that you may have to do, so. After the public budget hearing, sometime we'll have FinCom approval, but,
Keith, it's not statutory requirement that it is the first Thursday?
No.
It's just that
it has to occur.
So sometimes as things are forming, we have to be a little flexible with that date.
Literally, all it has to occur is before town meeting,
Got it.
Okay,
sometime during this fiscal year.
got it.
So literally from July 1st till whatever town meeting is.
Okay.
We've just traditionally had it the first Thursday in April. After the budget hearing, sometime after that, FinCom will be approving or making their recommendation. Select Board puts that budget in the town meeting warrant. Town meeting votes on our budget. And
There it goes.
Now you're gonna make it
And
good
if they,
twice.
and if they, again, we approve our budget,
Just get a clicker.
Well, you could do it here,
It's
too.
not working.
so I'll sit down if you have any questions.
Go ahead, Amanda.
I just have a question, Keith, about payroll.
Yep.
When you do like the salaries, do you plan on the current contract, or like the retroactive contract, or do you plan for what you think the contract will be? Do you account for back pay? How do you
That's
figure out
the
what
actual
that is?
challenge, because you really can't just put a number in there, right? So you can roll over people that you know they're going to advance a lane or steps, because we have those people requesting lane changes now, so we can add that into budget. But those COLAs are the challenge if we don't know what the COLAs
Do you
are.
put in like a basic COLA, or just no COLA at all?
It really is a guess. It really is a guess, best guess, because
The best guess?
you really, traditionally when you're negotiating contracts, your transparency, you really can't put a placeholder in, because then you're not negotiating in good faith. Hence the challenge, because we're struggling with not having numbers for this year, which then compounds into next year. So yes, this is why we did present our budget tonight. And, even for February 17th, it's going to be a challenge.
We have a legal obligation to reflect the collective bargaining agreements that we have within our budget. We have a legal obligation. It doesn't say the number of people are in it and things like that. We can't make an assumption off of that. So our legal obligation is literally to bring forward the most recently approved or ratified collective bargaining agreement, which that was the agreement we had that ended last year. So that's what our legal obligation is. We know that's not reality. So we can't put that forward, because that puts us behind the 8 ball to start with. It's just, as Susan said, we're caught like a little bit betwixt and between, because if we go forward with something, we could be making it look like a cap. And that's, again, as Susan said, that's not bargaining in good faith. So we have to really project, and I don't say hope, but do the best we can with it. It's really a bad place to be.
Thank you.
Other questions? No? Okay, I want to circle back to our student representatives who have shown up. Thank you, Leah and Ellie, for coming. We kind of got ourselves jumped and just kept going, and so I'm glad you're here. Do you have any reports to offer us this evening?
First and foremost, the Student Council and the Environmental Club, I'm sure you've seen, it's all over Holliston Happy. They're holding a prom dress, kind of like a reused prom dresses, bags, shoes, accessories, which is going to be next Monday, the February 7th at 6:30 in the CAF. So people can donate, and then I think the entry fee is like somewhere around like $5, and you can pick whatever. So it's a good way for students who might not be able to spend a lot of money on prom to still choose what they might like.
And then we're starting senior showcase auditions next week, so they're going to be after school every day. Next week, I don't think we have a date for it yet, though.
Yeah, I think that's TBD. But the prom they decided is definitely May 20th, and it's going to be at Gillette this year.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're all pretty excited about that.
And then girls basketball senior night is February 11th, and boys is February 4th. Wait, that's today. No, that's tomorrow. Never mind, sorry.
Tomorrow, yeah. And then along the same lines, swim actually just won the TVLs last night, so that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
We're all pretty proud of them. Here, if you want to look at this. It's so fun.
What is that? It's like a competition. Rehearsals for Met G started today, and auditions took place for actors of a student-written performance.
Yeah, so I think that the students who are in theater, there's like this METG competition, and they wrote a play. It's not student directed, but they're gonna like use it in a competition. And then we also wanted to touch on whether or not fans will be allowed at winter sports, because since now we're the only town in the TVL that does not allow fans. We can skip this one.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay. And then, yeah, just like finals are over and the second semester started, and I think students are transitioning really well.
Great. So really, dress shopping for prom already?
Yeah, a lot of
Wow,
people
I'm like,
are.
it's
Yeah.
February.
So we are going to have a prom this year, hopefully.
Yeah, she just said May 20th at Gillette.
Oh,
That's the schedule.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exciting.
yeah, we're excited.
A lot of old bridesmaids dresses.
Yeah, those are, yeah.
Not
They're
one
looking
from
for
the 80s,
donations.
I definitely have the ones from the 80s.
So,
And ones from the 80s.
I know you mentioned spectators, I do want to clarify, so our current protocol is that we're allowing immediate family members, household members as fans to games, which is limited. We do also have a current report from the state level that Holliston is still as a community in the red, so that also plays into decisions. But we do have Mr. Baker who's going to be jumping in and talking to that, so I think that's next on our list anyhow. If you're ready for him, he's
Almost. Is he ready?
Yep.
He can't be here in person, but he is here
He's here on the phone.
by the phone.
I'm here. Can you hear
Okay, well, we can talk to him on the phone and I'll circle back. That's okay.
Okay, Matt, go ahead.
All right. Thank you for having me again. Before I start, I just want to say congratulations to the girls indoor track team and the boys and girls swim and dive teams on winning the TVL titles. That makes 5 TVL titles for Holliston this year, and hopefully many more to come. So I just want to advocate for all spectators being allowed to return to our athletic events starting ideally tomorrow. As I said at the school committee meeting on January 6th, in early January, the TVL principals, in conjunction with the athletic directors, implemented a temporary spectator change to allow only family members to attend due to the rise in COVID numbers. Due to the recent drop in numbers, as of last week, all the TVL schools have lifted the restriction, and I think, we can be doing the same. Our winter venues are large. For those of you that have been there, the Holliston High School Fieldhouse, Loring Arena, Keefe Tech, the Reggie Lewis Center, which still enables people to distance while in attendance at our events. So just with last winter having no spectators, these past 2 years have been really trying on everybody, including our student athletes. And, it's my view at this point that hopefully we can give the students the spectator support that they deserve for the last few weeks of the winter season, which is less than 3 weeks for most teams at this point.
Matt, can I ask you a question about whether there are capacity limits at any of the venues?
So, yeah, there are. So I was at Loring Arena last night. I mean, the capacity limit right now is 750. If we had a big crowd for a game, you'd probably be talking like 200 people. So even with, for instance, Framingham High boys hockey had a game after us, they have 2,500 kids who go to their school. They allowed everybody in, and they still didn't come close to their capacity limit. So I don't think there'll be any issues with us getting near, overcrowded at any of our events.
And spectators have to wear masks, right?
Yeah, masks are still required.
Yes.
Yes. So it's not lifting the mask mandate or requirement. It's just that right now it's a capacity. So we were only allowing household because we were in the red, and because of the surge, we were saying, well, let's just limit it to household members only until we can see whether, that's why we asked Matt to come back. So does anybody have other questions or thoughts they want to share? Go ahead, Amanda.
I know it means a lot to the fans, like the other kids, to be able to go support their friends at the games. So I would be in favor of lifting this requirement as well.
So would you like to make a motion, Amanda?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I move that we lift the mandate to allow only immediate family members to attend sporting events for winter sports.
And allow for spectators beyond household to attend.
Thank you.
Masked spectators.
Masked spectators.
Okay.
Second by Dawn.
Okay, moved by Amanda, seconded by Dawn. All in favor? And that carries. All right, Matt.
Right, so Mr. Baker, are you there?
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're going to be getting a message out to parents sooner than later, correct?
Yeah.
Families.
Yep.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks,
you,
Matt. I
everyone. Have a good
appreciate you
night.
coming tonight.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. I'm jumping around a little bit. Let me go back. Yeah, so, yeah, I actually want to go back a little bit to policy, just because I wanted to just get an update from Catherine about policy subcommittee and masks to session, et cetera.
So we've had a hard time having a meeting lately, due to a lot of the restrictions around and the need around staffing and meetings and things like that. So our next meeting is coming up. We haven't established what date yet, but hopefully in the next week or so.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about the masks again. We talked about them at our last two meetings that we did have, which were curtailed. We don't have a lot of latitude on the masks because of the way that that DESE has been giving us the guidelines and stuff. So I think at our next meeting we'll talk about what comes next. Like as this is all starting to, we're lifting restrictions and stuff. That'll be the conversation at our next meeting.
Okay. In terms of a waiver, is that what you're saying? That you're going to discuss a waiver at the subcommittee meeting?
Yeah, well, I think more than that, though. Just basically, like, looking forward. What where do we see this going? What does it look like? Where are the off ramps? What are the things that we need to take into consideration in order to consider taking masks off? And that conversation, we've been having it in dribs and drabs, but we haven't really had a lot of latitude to make the decision. We haven't had any latitude to make the decisions because of the way that that DESE's been giving us the guidance. So in anticipation of being able to make our own decisions sometime soon, we'll start that conversation at the next meeting, which hopefully will be next week.
Okay. Great. Is there anything else that's on your agenda?
There's a ton of stuff on the agenda.
Okay.
I think there's like 9 or 10 policies that we're reviewing right now.
Okay. And including the consent agenda, that's so important
Consent
to me.
agenda, the graduation, the, social media, gifting to the schools, supplying excessive supplies to a specific class. I mean, we're talking about safe routes to school. We're talking about, there's honestly like 10, I think 9 or 10 things that we're talking about right now. So there's a bunch.
All right. Yeah, so we may want to block out or try to block out a couple of meetings in a row, after that, when we're at the next meeting, and maybe we can try to find some longer blocks to get through them.
Okay. And I did offer to actually do the one on the consent agenda, that I would actually, since we already have all the policies up on in our Google Drive now, I can actually go in and put in my suggested edits, which is just I'll cut and paste that in there, so that you won't have to work on it. I'll have a working draft for you. All right. Thank you. All right. Awesome. All right. Let me just head back a little bit. We'll go back to reports to the subcommittees. I'm sorry I skipped from that. Communications.
We will have another meeting likely next week, or not next week, but prior to the February 17th meeting, so that we can present a newsletter to go out on the 17th.
Okay. And so we'll have a newsletter on the 17th. And there was an issue with the newsletter going out last time. Did we figure out what the issue was about?
I don't know what the issue was, but Dan McLeod did get it out after we updated him. We had anticipated it was going out on the Friday after the last meeting, and it had not, but I think it did go out Monday or Tuesday along with.
It did. I just didn't know if there was like something that was amiss.
He didn't say anything specific.
Okay. All right. Budget.
We have our next meeting on Wednesday, That's February 9th at 3:30. And we will kind of look at where things are now and start talking about next year.
We will digest the priority needs. Okay, excellent. All right, and evaluation, Stacy's not here. Who else is on superintendent evaluation? Minnie, do you want to give a little update about the superintendent's evaluation discussion?
Yeah, we did have a meeting scheduled today in the morning, which got postponed. So we are debating on a tentative date. I think it might be February 11th, Friday, at 12, I believe, but we are just waiting on confirmation from everyone involved. And then we should be able to give you some update on the 17th meeting.
Okay. Great. All right, getting back to old business. We'll start with you, Dr. Kuska, with superintendent's update.
I send out a lot of communications, so I will be brief, but I do want to remind people, I did send something out quickly tonight related to the COVID test kits, because I know that people were waiting to hear about that. So we had staff test kits went out last Friday. We had about 300 staff members approximately that signed up for that. They got 2 tests delivered to them last Friday to take last Friday and this Friday, and then every 2 weeks thereafter they will get an updated test kit. I am going to be sending out to staff another opt-in opportunity so that if they want to get in for the next round, they can do so. Similarly with parents, they're on the opposite schedule, so students will get their first. Those who opted in as of this past Tuesday, we had about 1,000.
Just under 1,000.
1,000 students were opted in of families, and they will get their first test kits tomorrow to take home. They'll be in their backpacks with instructions, very simple to administer. They're actually simpler than the ones we use in school, so I found them even easier to use. And then family members are supposed to let us know, communicate if they're positive so that we can plan ahead. But we're hopeful that that will also provide another mitigation. If you find out on a Friday that you're positive, then you hunker down for the weekend, and that also gives you time to quarantine, so you won't hopefully miss as much school time. With our pool testing, we think these are the good strategies to be using right now. So we're moving towards pool testing at the high school. We haven't been able to implement it prior to, but with this need, we're trying to get that started over the next couple of weeks. They'll be moving to Mondays, and the middle schools are already on Mondays, and then Placentino and Miller will be on Tuesdays. So, sometimes it takes 48 hours, but usually 24 hours to get the results from them. So you're looking at potentially finding out Tuesday or Wednesday for high school and middle school students, and then Wednesday or Thursday about any positive pools for the other levels, which gives us an opportunity to test them again in school to find out who's positive or potentially positive and send them home. And then Friday offers another opportunity. So really that would give people twice a week that opt in for these mitigation strategies. So they'll go home in backpacks tomorrow, but I did send a brief update about that. And then next week I will send the survey opt-in again, and parents can opt in for the next round if they haven't done so already.
So they can every single time you can ask something out?
You don't have to do anything if you've already opted in. You just remain in. You have to opt out if you don't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
But if you have not opted in and want to join, then they can still join for the next round.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification about the Friday, because I was curious as to why we were doing a Friday testing each week, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was just trying to pick the best day, given where the pool testing is and giving us time to do our antigen test. That made the most sense. And also, I didn't want to have different days for different schools, because if you're a parent, now I'm supposed to remember who gets it on Thursday, who gets it on Friday. So we're trying to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And also not wanting to wait till Sunday, because now they're going to miss 5 days of school. But if they find out on Friday, hopefully that'll speed up the process to return. And we're trying to minimize academics as much as possible.
So parents should check their child's backpack tomorrow.
If they opted in.
If they opted in.
Or
Absolutely
if they think
check.
they opted in, check either way.
Because, I have 2 kids and they don't tell me anything. I have to go hunt for it, so, okay. Any questions about the pool testing or any update? No? Okay. We will move on to the 2022-23 school year calendar discussion and vote. Is this Joni? Are you up?
It's
both of you. Okay.
So Joni and I met because there had been some, when we first presented the calendar, it was, what happens initially is we look at last year's calendar, and Lisa Aronian will roll things over to this year's calendar. And then after listening to comments from different school committee members and also concerns that we had, we looked a little more strategically again before this meeting. And what we tried to do is minimize as much disruption as possible. So we try to make sure there were concerns about having either a holiday and a PD day in the same week, or having multiple weeks disrupted in a row and having shortened weeks that way. So we moved things around from our last meeting. So we certainly don't have to vote tonight. Since we did make some changes, you're welcome to consider voting. But one of the changes we made was in August and September. We started thinking about this past year. We actually had our opening day on August 30th, was it? I think it was the 30th and then the 31st. So we had opening day and then the 30th for teachers. And then the 31st, I believe, was the PD day for teachers. And it seemed to go nicely to give teachers the 2 days to transition. So on the PD days, they have some flexibility before and after school to get their classrooms ready as well. So we changed the opening day for students from Tuesday the 30th to Wednesday the 31st. And then they would have 3 days in a row uninterrupted before the long weekend for Labor Day. And then, Joni, help me with some of the other moves that we made. And then November was the next one. We moved the October.
October.
You want to go through that?
Yes, so we moved a PD day from October. We're looking at a full day just because you have so many holidays in October. So we moved it to November 4th, which is a Friday. And then December, we moved it to the 14th. Looking at January, half day, excuse me. Looking at the full day in January, we moved it to the 27th, a Friday, and we wanted to make sure, like in December, if you look, we try to intentionally keep full weeks in every month, so we're not being as disruptive. In February, the early release day would be February 8th, March would be the 15th in the middle. March is our long month. Nothing in April since we have vacation. We did move it to the beginning of May, so the 3rd of May.
For the half day. So it was really kind of be thinking about if we were having full days, and the Friday approach certainly works, but also trying to not interrupt midweek or double up in certain weeks. And then, we were concerned when we looked at October, for example, we had 4 weeks in a row that there was going to be a full 4-day week. So just trying to have as many longer sessions as possible. It's not easy, as you know, with the holidays and everything. Lisa?
Go ahead, Lisa.
I might be misremembering this, but I thought kindergartens had a different first day of school than everyone else. Am I hallucinating?
I thought so too, and then last year I don't think we did though. I feel like, did you change it this year?
No, they start a day late.
A day difference.
So we need to add that.
Yeah, we should add that.
Kindergarten day, yes. And we're actually going to this is really small, but we actually might revise the format once we vote on the days. You might get a new and improved, bigger version as well.
I'm looking here, it was not on this year's calendar, but you're right, it should be. So this is, I know this is all the work we were doing, these are all my notes.
Yeah.
But you can look, right, this is a working copy, but we did not have a kindergarten first day on
Yeah,
this year's.
we can certainly add
Definitely, we can add it, yeah.
Is that a meatloaf recipe?
I know.
Amanda?
I just wanted to ask about, we don't know any more information about conferences yet, like those conference half days.
So there's a reason for that too. One of the things we've talked about with the principals is the long time before they get the report cards at the lower levels.
Right.
So they do have conferences, but they were in December this year, and it was a little bit late. I had some concerns, and there's a lot of reasons why that was pushed to. We're hoping to add a third report card, which would be in November likely, but we haven't had that conversation with them yet. So that's why until we pick the day for the first report card for elementary, we can't really lay into the conferences, but I do want the conferences to be as close to the reporting period as possible.
So might those be in early November?
I'm thinking that the report card might be in later November, and then early December would be the conferences.
We're also thinking report cards in March and June. We're not sure though yet, we haven't had those conversations.
So would we maybe not have the December 14th half day if we're going to have a bunch of other half days like the previous week?
Well, these are all the things that we've tried to work around.
I know.
That was actually one of the reasons for pushing it to the 14th, because we figured we're going to try to, we're hoping we could potentially do the conferences at the last week in November, 29th, 30th, sometime in there, and then early December so that we're not running into the holiday. My big concern this year was we had between conferences and then the holiday course. I was looking at the calendar, I'm like, wow, these are a lot of events so close to Christmas, and I think it's just challenging for families to get to.
Okay. Dawn?
So in January, did we remove we've always kind of had a 4-day weekend where there's a PD on a Friday and then we have Martin Luther King? Was that shifted around? So is that what we did?
We were trying
and why do we not want that 4-day weekend, which I think typically comes before exams too, which I know it only impacts 4 of the 13 grades, but why steer away from the 4-day weekend?
I think, again, it's going back to thinking of COVID regression and all the things that we've dealt with, trying to chunk as much time together. When you have 4 days in a row, you're just, it's that much more disruptive. And then obviously the long breaks, so trying to avoid those.
As a teacher in the classroom, it's really hard to have shorter weeks. So you want to try to expand the weeks as much as you can.
So, I have a question here. What's the rationale behind having Wednesday as half days versus Friday?
Yeah, and that's what the tradition for a while, I think, since we added the half days last, is it this 3rd year, Keith?
3rd or 4th year.
We did some on Fridays and some that were on Wednesdays, I think.
I think we'd want to keep them on Wednesdays too, because we have the putting the full days on the other Fridays.
Yeah, we haven't always done that, because I remember us arguing about that a couple of years
We
ago.
did.
I don't think there's anything ideal here. Honestly, for us, it was really looking at trying to minimize longer breaks and disruptions and shorter weeks and try to maximize what we have. But,
But to me, that does look like a break in sense that I'm sure mentally it's a break, like a bang in the middle, but Fridays are generally better for families too. That's what I feel, because
Yeah,
it's just easier there's so many parents who are actually able to work from home on Fridays or get an early off from office. So I don't know, it's just something which has always stood out to me. It didn't matter because by the time I came to it, my kids were already old enough to come home by themselves, but I'm just trying to figure out that as a community also, it's just an odd day to have a half day.
Yeah, I think it's much easier for parents to have a half day on a Friday than a Wednesday.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when I looked at some of the other area schools around us, some of them had all Tuesday half days, and others had Friday half days, and others had one day half days, but less of them had full days. We have more full days. So I'm a little concerned about why we would have a half day professional development in May, because I feel like that's just like the end of the year.
Which is why we tried to put it earlier. But again, it was looking at April and how few days we have in April, so trying to not disrupt the learning cycle as much.
And you can set things up for the following year, so it'd be like an initiative or professional development that you're going to really hit the ground running the next year.
So in that respect, March is pretty free.
Well, we have MCAS. Big chunk of time is taken up with MCAS.
Yes.
So I mean, that's the hard part in March. So I would not having mapped out all those dates yet. I would not want to put certainly a full day in there. Even a half day could be tricky.
Right.
But we were trying to look at all the days, how short April is. So.
The 27th, I'm sorry, January 27th, does that interrupt the finals for the high school at all? What are those?
They're usually the last week.
So this year they were, I think, the 24th and 25th. My only concern with that is what happens with even 1 or 2 snow days?
Yeah.
Do you have a final on Thursday, then you have a 3-day weekend, then you have another final? And traditionally, I think when we had that Friday before Martin Luther King, you have a 4-day weekend, essentially about a couple days to a week before finals, which really does help with the stress level of those 4 grades. So that's just one piece. I'd love to maybe consider either student input on that, whether that 4-day weekend just before finals is helpful, or something from Ms. Bottomley on the impact for kids.
I mean, the thing is, if you're talking about the 13th or the 16th holiday, that's considerably before. I'd want to get I would want to find out exactly what the dates are, because
For exams?
having a 4-day weekend on the 13th to the 16th doesn't have as much of an impact on people trying to study for the 24th, 25th. You know what I mean? So that's...
They tend to give a lot of last minute work or big review packets or things of that nature where the kids, I mean, would you agree you're pretty busy on that 4-day weekend getting ready for, and projects, since we've moved to a lot of project-based learning, they're often due right after, soon after.
Especially after the holidays, I think that definitely helps.
Yeah, so
as
again, we're
kind
not
of
looking,
reorienting.
as I said, we have no problem tabling it. I wasn't assuming that we would get to it tonight, especially with the changes. But we can certainly double check what the exam schedule,
find out.
or the mid-year final
Yeah.
exam schedule will be for January.
I think we also look at moving some, if not all of those half days to Fridays, the professional development.
Yeah, I would second that.
I'd be in
as well.
favor of that as well,
Yeah.
as a parent with younger kids.
All right, we'll circle back at our next meeting.
Okay, yeah, these were a lot more
Or
changes
actually,
than
I
I
mean,
expected to see.
or we could even table it until February. There's no,
Let's table it.
I think we could table and get a little more information since we have other things going on.
Okay.
I mean, sorry, not the February 17th, the one after that.
We just have one more thing to consider. We are going to have a half PD day in May. May is traditionally when you have the juniors and seniors going to prom. They're often leaving early on that day. That is the prom day. It is in May. Could we line up the PD day with that?
Sure, but I'd be much happier if you would tell me why it's educationally sound to move these days.
It is though, I agree, because if like half the kids' parents are dismissing them that day anyway.
I know.
Then you lose, as a teacher,
But
like,
you get
lose
me
that
stronger
day
when you say,
anyway.
kids will gain academics by X. I'm
They'll
teasing.
lose less instructional time.
Okay.
Yeah.
They will.
And their social
They'll get
emotional
more,
learning
exactly.
is.
Social emotional learning.
There you go.
That's it. There
Use
you
the right
go.
words, exactly.
That's a good
So
one.
the
Okay.
19th.
I think
So-
the SEL part also factors with the Friday, moving to it Friday. I think.
Okay.
I don't know, I feel.
You can convince me, Vinnie.
So just to recap issues that were, I'm sorry, Kathy, did you have another question?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify or be sure that it probably though the start date for the year is not going to change. Like it seems as though people are
Well,
okay with that.
I was actually going to bring that up too, but go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say because now is the time of year when people start signing up for summer camps.
Yeah.
And like if we're going to wait another month to start
Sure.
to approve this, or even perhaps even longer, like people need to know how many summer camps do I sign up for? When can we go on vacation? Like that, so
Right.
that like when do we come back becomes really important.
I'm a little concerned about the fact that if we have 5 snow days, we'll be going into the 28th. And so I actually was on a discussion with a group of chairs in the surrounding towns, school committee chairs, and we were talking about calendar issues because they come up a lot. And this was one of them. We were, concerned about where should we be backing up our dates from, and should we be starting with we don't want to go past, Juneteenth, for example, and then push ourselves back the other way, and then conversely, not necessarily starting. A lot of people don't want to start prior to Labor Day, so it's how are we going to make that all work with all of the other holidays, PD days, et cetera. So it is a conundrum for sure. And I am a little concerned about the fact that, going to the 28th potentially in June is, to me, that's lost instructional time to me.
It's so hot.
Unless we're going to put some money into second floor air conditioning units.
But I mean, the same thing in August, we get the same, no matter. If you start August 26th, August 25th,
Right.
we run into the same issue.
Well, it might be in terms of just also reviewing our PD, evaluating our full day PD for, are we getting the most bang for our buck out of doing the full days?
Well, that's also contractual at this point. We have
Right.
185 days.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so just to recap, looking at half-day, potentially Fridays, removing the 27th back to the 13th, which has been pretty traditional in the district for a long time, and moving out the May. Did somebody say something about moving out the May?
We're going to have a May PD day if we put a
May PD
on
day.
the prom day.
Well, prom day is the 20th, right? Oh, no, wait, it'll be the 19th or something,
Wait a
right?
minute. We have
I'm sorry, an SEL
We don't
day.
even know when it is.
No, if
It's
prom's
kind of
on
hard to.
Saturday,
We won't know.
It doesn't matter.
Huh?
If prom's on Saturday.
It
It's
is.
not on a Saturday, it's on the 20th for this year, 22, but we're looking at
right.
23.
Oh, we won't know
and I
that
think
yet,
it's on,
yes. Yeah.
I don't even know if we'd know that.
they have a
We
date.
have no idea.
Yeah, we won't.
They have to
No,
get
they
a
have a
location.
date.
Oh, they do.
They would have a date?
They have a date.
Okay, we'll have to ask Nicole then. We'll circle back with Nicole. Okay, and then, okay, all right. So we're going to table till, not next week, the next time, I'm
So
sorry.
I'm just looking at this because I didn't have it in front of me. So this year, the last day is projected as the 22nd, with 5 days would be the 29th. We've had one snow day so far, so we're already at the 23rd. So we're actually, we're already in that scenario. That it's a problem no matter which way we go. But I think it'd be very challenging to go earlier than the Monday, the 29th. I mean, you'd be looking at Thursday or Friday, the 25th or 26th. So,
No, well, we can start talking about doing a March break instead of doing February and April.
Oh, good luck with that.
Well, you really.
I'm going to catch it on that
Just
one.
because of MCAS, seriously.
Oh,
And also
fair enough.
You know, one thing,
Yeah.
again, I'll
Yeah.
come back here. Why have we never considered clubbing the February break with April? I mean, is there a reason behind it? Because then that gives such a huge piece of
I mean,
unbroken instruction, and then April is actually an ideal time to go out and have an actual break, because
So,
5
just-
days is
to the teacher in the room, myself and Joni, I don't know if the teachers. No, Minnie. Put yourself in December
Right.
to April.
Right.
And for children too, like.
Right.
And for children.
Yes.
It's a lot there's a lot when yes, sometimes there's too many breaks, but then at the same token, when you don't have the breaks to regroup and reassess and prepare.
And I'm going to speak as
I
an
don't
old.
mind. Yes, because I look forward to the February break. I mean, I'm going to India in the February
are you
break.
traveling? What are you talking about?
Yes, I know. I mean, I love it.
You're on
This is just so separate from
I was thinking as a past elementary school principal, you needed the February break to get the flu germs out.
I was just
This
gonna
is
say, yeah.
pre-COVID, right? Like our custodians were straight out cleaning the schools because flu was so, pre-COVID, it was so prevalent in elementary schools because you're closed up, and it's cold. So you need that to physically just get,
So if you would like to get a
kids sick
group
every month.
together in the community and see if they're on board, be my guest.
that'd be really tough. Yeah.
I personally love the breaks
Yeah.
because it gives me time. I hear you, but
But
yeah,
instruction is the reason we're here.
yeah,
So,
but it's something which to ponder about. I don't know if that would ever make sense, but yeah.
Okay.
So we're almost done.
Okay, moving on. So, are we seriously at warrants? Okay, let me go. I feel like I'm missing something. All right. Okay, on behalf of the committee, I have signed a warrant, a school bill warrant in the amount of $219,996.38. A school bill warrant in the amount of $72,231.79. An activity account replenishment request for $3,037.77. And a direct payment warrant for $5,050. Mr. Boudet, do you have some explaining to do?
Again, for those who are new to the committee, when the student activity account at the high school has a large single check, what we do is we use, rather than paying it out of the checking account and having you vote to replenish it from the money market account, we pay directly from the money market account. That's an agreement we have with the treasurer's office. It's a much cleaner process, a much faster process. So again, that's why it's different than, say, a replenishment. So I don't know if we had one of these in a while, so usually it's around prom and stuff. This was, I think this was SATs, or maybe it's PSATs. It was, but yeah, it was going to College Board. So yeah, that's just for an FYI for you.
Okay. Items of information, there's nothing else in your packet, although I did get this annual report from the you sent us
I sent you the
a digital
electronic
copy,
copy,
so
but
I
I had
have
not given you
so if anybody wants to peruse the physical copy. Our next meeting date will be February 17th, 2022. And items that we will discuss on that agenda will be clearly budget. Are there other things? Do we have other presentations on the 17th?
I don't think we do.
I don't know.
I know we have on March 17th, I saw coming up would be our next SEL and Safe and Supportive Schools presentation.
So that's in March,
I
though.
just don't remember anything for February.
I think we're thinking it's budget focused.
I think it's just budget for a while. Budget's a lot. Okay.
Just trying to pull up that.
All right. So the time is now Is that 7:59, 7:57?
7:57, that's what I have.
All right, 7:57. I would entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of collective bargaining strategy with the Holliston Federation of Teachers Paraprofessionals Unit, from which we will not return. Sorry.
Moved by Dawn. Second.
Moved by Dawn, seconded by Minnie. All in favor? Oh, I have to roll call. No, I don't. Sorry. Okay, that passes. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe.
I wonder if we just